guys, and welcome back to Red Dog Gaming, where today we are here with another mod spotlight in Rome Total War Remastered, and today we are showing you Danymok's rosters expanded. We have done this mod before, but today we are looking at its update, where it takes the new unit count from 30 to 91, guys. 91 units added into factions in the game. It is a fantastic addition to the game, and you are going to be playing it wondering why these units weren't added to the vanilla game to start with. They are brilliant. Now, please do note, Danymok has a YouTube channel, so check him out. I'll leave his link down in the description down below, so please do check him out. On top of that, we are trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and 70% of you are not subscribed yet, so please do hit that subscribe and like button as soon as you can. Please do note, guys, that while I am showing the units we showed in the last video on the battle map, we won't be going into them in detail. So if you want to see all the units that I showed last time that were added initially, please do check that video out in the description down below. With that out of the way, guys, let's have a look at the units, and we are going to pause, otherwise all these armies will start absolutely trashing each other, which would be fun to watch, but of course we won't get to have that same experience of looking at the units. So let's start with the Roman factions with the Julii. We have the Roman and the Hellenic factions here on this map, guys, and we are going to be going through every single unit in detail and talking about its equivalent units and its strengths and weaknesses. Now here we have the Equites Extraordinarii. So the Extraordinarii, yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but these are basically much better Equites. Much better morale of 8, a melee attack of 9, and a total defense of 17. These are very, very strong units, guys, early game. Very strong units. If we look at the companion cavalry, guys, these are pretty similar, pretty close, and companion cavalry are one of the best horse units in the game, cavalry units in the game, and the best Hellenic cavalry unit in the game, without this mod, of course. The companion have a 10, 10, 17, so 10 morale, 10 melee attack, and 17 defense. The Equites Extraordinarii, I love saying that word, have a total defense of 17, so equivalent to the companions, and they have a morale of 8 and a melee attack of 9, so very, very similar. So they are a very strong early game unit, and look at these designs, guys. They look excellent. Very strong unit. Nice shields. I love their shields. Very cool indeed. Now let's move on to Macedon. So here we are at Macedon, guys, and we have the Royal Peltas, which we covered in the last video, so check that out. But there is another added unit in here, a cavalry unit, the Aspis Companion Cavalry, which has an unreal stats, really, guys. They have 2 missiles ready to fire, 2 javelins, so kind of like a legionary unit or a Hastati or, you know, a Roman legionary unit, but on cavalry, on horseback, which is awesome. They also look pretty cool. I like this guy, looking pretty intense. Whoa, look at those eyebrows, bro. Look at those eyebrows. He is ready to go. But yeah, the Aspis Companion Cavalry, a morale of 10, a melee attack of 11, and a missile attack of 11 with those javelins. Now, if we compare that to the Companion Cavalry, they have an attack of 10, so these guys have a better attack. They have a defense of 17, so these guys have a better defense in general. The same morale, of course, of 10, and on top of that you get those 2 missiles, so these guys are going to do more damage in general overall. They do have a slightly worse charge of 7 compared to the companions of 9, the standard companion cavalry of 9, so the charge is not as powerful, but overall I believe these guys will do more damage in the battlefield, especially with those missiles. If I had these guys, what I would mainly want to do is try and take out enemy generals with them, fire those missiles into them, and then charge them in for full effect. Now let's move on to the Greeks, guys. And as we saw in the last video, there was the Thorax Swordsmen, which are a brilliant swordsman unit. But check out the last video, of course, again. But there are a couple of new units added into these guys as well. We have the Heavy Peltas, guys, the heavy Peltas. They're basically just a better version of the Peltas, a more armored version of the Peltas. So a heavy Peltas with a 4, morale, 5 melee attack, and 7 missile attack. The normal Peltas have 4 morale, 3 melee, so 2 less melee, and 6, so 1 less missile attack. But the big difference is in that defense, guys. These guys have 11 defense, 5 of which is a shield. Whereas the normal Peltas don't have a shield and have a defense of 4. So these guys are going to stand up to archer fire and missile fire a lot better. So they are a lot better to take around the battlefield. They're still fast moving, so they will still be moving as fast as your normal Peltas. So don't worry about them getting caught. And of course they have that bonus versus elephants and chariots, which many javelin units have. So a decent javelin unit, one that you might actually want to use. You probably won't want them to go into melee with a 511. That's not brilliant. But getting them around the battlefield, and they'll take a lot less losses than your normal Peltas. Now, on top of that, we have this mercenary Sarissa Cav, which is a unit from Thrace, I believe. I could be wrong there, but I believe it's a Thracian added unit. But of course, it's an AOI unit, so a mercenary Sarissa Cavalry, morale of 8, melee attack of 8, ult attack of 8, which so they have basically the same with their spear and with their sword. And on top of that, they have a defense of 4, which is trash, really trash, but a charge of 9, so very, very strong charge. Please note they have 0 armor and 0 shield, so if these guys get hit with arrows, they have no defense against arrows, guys. They will die instantly, like literally instantly. So what you want to do with these guys is charge them in and bring them out as soon as you can. That 9 charge is excellent, plus the melee attack of 8, which is really good, and good morale. Really, really good. If we compare them to the Greek cavalry, the standard Greek cavalry, the Greek cavalry has a morale of 4, a melee attack of 6, and a defense of 8, but they only have a charge of 5. So the Greek cavalry is kind of, you know, a more resilient unit, I would say, but these guys are a much more damaging unit with those charges. So if you get these guys, please do be wary of the archers, but charge them in and get them out of there. Get them the hell out of Dodge as soon as you can, guys. As soon as you can. But let's move on to the Big Seleucids, my favourite faction. I absolutely love the Seleucids because of their unit roster variation. And with this mod, they get even more variation, which is cool. So the 2 units we've already covered for the Seleucids on the other video are the Royal Peltasts and the Syrian Archers, a really decent archer unit there. But there is 2 new added units. There's the Aspies Companion Cavalry to go along with the Companion Cavalry, which we've already covered. A very strong cavalry unit there for you guys. Very, very strong indeed with those javelins. But the real new unit here to cover is the Silver Shield Swordsman. A very, very decent swordsman unit. The Legionaries have 1 better defense of 22, so the standard legionary cohort for the Romans, but they have 2 worse morale with a morale of 8, whereas these guys, they have the same melee and same missile as the legionary cohorts, but they have 2 better morale, so they're going to stick in the fight longer, even though they have 1 less defense. The very strong swordsman unit, guys. Legionary-like, very nice indeed. But of course, guys, one thing to note, they have an armor-piercing primary weapon. Now, that means that they are definitely stronger than the legionary cohorts. I don't believe the legionary cohorts... Do the legionary cohorts have an armor-piercing weapon? I'd have to check that. But this armor-piercing with a melee attack of 9 is extremely strong, guys, especially against factions like the Romans, or even factions like the Eastern factions with cataphracts, because you're going to be negating that armor stat that their units have. So these Silver Shield Swordsmen, a very decent addition to the roster. Please do note as well, Danymok has said, this ammo thing here, it comes up with 1 rather than 2. They do actually have 2, because you can see 160 and they have 80. It's because of this officer in the unit. So basically what the engine does is it divides the missiles by the amount of troops, and it comes out to be 1.9 something because of the Silver Shield Swordsman officer here who doesn't have javelins. But it is actually 2. All these units have 2 javelins. But, of course, a very strong addition to the roster. Now let's go across to Carthage, guys. And there is a couple of units that we've already seen before. And they are the Scutarii, who we've seen added as well. And we have seen the Libyan infantry, who have been added to Carthage as well. A very strong unit. Pretty much the same stats as those Silver Shield Swordsmen, if you didn't see the other video. So a very, very strong swordsman unit there. Very strong heavy infantry. But we do have some new additions as well, guys. We have the Carthaginian heavy archers, which I believe were an addition previously as well. We're called Carthaginian elite archers. I can't quite remember. But a very decent arch unit. 438 missile attack, which is excellent. A total defense of 6. 3 of which is armor, so they will die to archer fire pretty quickly. Decent missile range of 170, but these guys, you do not want to get them into melee at all. They're fast moving, so you can run them away from infantry quickly, but yes, you do not want them to get into melee at all. But a decent unit added to the archer roster of the Carthaginians. Now, 2 AOR units, 2 mercenary units. We have the Cretan archers. Probably one of the best archer units in the game. Look at that. 11 missile attacks. But the standard Cretan archer from the base game. And the standard Samnite mercenaries. So another spearman option if you are in Italia. Now, onto the barbarian cavalry mercenaries as well. So another cavalry mercenary available in some AOR regions that you may have barbarians. So I'm assuming that will be Iberia where you can get these guys. Which is awesome. And they look excellent, decking the halls for Carthage, but they're decking in green. And I love their shields. Pretty cool indeed. Right, let's move on to Egypt. And as you can see, Egypt has a lot. And it might have some big boys. Look at these boys. Here they are, looking excellent. But first, let's talk about the units that we covered last time. So last time, we covered the Royal Pikemen being added, the Phalanx Pikemen being added, and the Royal Peltasts, if we can find them. There they are, the Royal Peltasts, as well as the Greek and Companion Cavalries. So the Greek and Companion Cavalries we covered last time, and the Scythe Chariots. So we have a few, and the Syrian Archers. So a lot of these guys were covered last time. But there are a couple of additions that are very nice indeed for Egypt. Very nice. And you can see the love in my voice for these additions, because basically what Danymok's done here is change Egypt into being a Hellenic faction as well as an Eastern faction, so a bit of a mix of cultures, which is brilliant. And of course we know at the time, in reality, they were a Hellenic faction, but I think the developers of the game originally just wanted to add a bit more unit variation, and that's what Danymok's done here. It's giving you that option of who you want to recruit and who you want to play as. So let's first look at the Gabiniani. These words, man, I can't pronounce them at all. I can't pronounce them fluently, I'd say. Gabiniani, there we are. Gabiniani Legionary. So another Legionary unit for these boys, which is fantastic. They are pretty much the same as the Silver Shield Swordsman. 8, 9, 13 with that armor-piercing primary weapon. They can form Testudo, however, which I don't believe the Silver Shield Swordsman could. Let's just check on that. Where are the Silver Shield Swordsmen? Oh, with the Seleucids. There they are. Yes, they cannot form Testudo. So these guys can form Testudo, which is excellent. They are a legionary unit. They fire their 2 javelins before charging with that 13 missile attack. They have the same stats as the legionary cohort, the standard legionary cohort, apart from the fact that they have slightly less morale and less defense of 22. The legionary cohorts have more defense of 22, so they'd have slightly less defense, but you get that combat bonus in deserts, which is excellent because you're going to be fighting in a lot of deserts, and they are a very strong legionary unit, as we've seen, especially for these factions that don't really get that uber elite units like the Romans. Of course, The elephant in the grassy flatlands map, the elephant in the room is the elephants, guys. So added to the Egyptians as well, we have the war elephants, the standard war elephants from the game. They are very strong, of course. Morale of 8, melee attack of 6, missile attack of 6, and a total defense of 16, but 12 hit points. So that total defense is 16 times 12, which is 184, I believe. So their defense really is 184, unless you get someone with a bonus against elephants, which is unreal. So you don't even need the heavy and armored war elephants, really, because these guys are so strong anyway. But added to them, on top of that, we have the armored Syrian elephant. So I'm assuming you can just recruit these from Antioch. But look at these boys, absolutely brutal. 19 defense, 8 morale, 6 melee attack, 6 missile attack. But that armor, 16 armor, is extremely strong, guys. And of course, a great addition to Egypt, making Egypt even stronger, which Egypt was already quite strong. So they get an even stronger roster now with the elephants added. I wonder whether the AI with this mod installed will actually recruit them that much. Hopefully they will. Hopefully the AI is clever enough. But yes, great additions to the Egyptian roster there, making them even stronger, and a very, very nice addition. Now on to Thrace. Last time I forgot that they were Hellenic. I forgot that they existed because they're not terribly important to me. If you get the reference to the movie, guys, stick it down below in the comments. But yes, here we are with some additions to Thrace. So last time, the Royal Peltas and the Bronze Plate Pikemen are the ones we covered. But there are 2 additions, and we've already seen these guys. The Sarissa Cavalry, a Thracian Lancer unit that we've already looked at with that 9 charge and 8 melee attack. That really strong light cavalry, but pretty unresilient. So as I say, guys, charge these guys in like beasts and then get the hell out of Dodge. Genuinely, just get the hell out of there. Do not stick around to see how long they last, because they won't last long. But that charge will do a lot of damage, especially in the rear of units. And then the other addition to Thrace is the Thracian Heavy Peltas, just the same as the Greek Heavy Peltas. Apart from their defense is 8 and not 11. But their missile attack of 9. Let me just check that the Peltas of Greece, the Heavy Peltas of Greece had a 4, 5, 7. So these guys actually have better stats. 7 melee attack and 9 missile attack compared to 5 and 7, but less defense. They had 11 and these guys have 8. So these guys are going to do more damage, but take more damage in general as well. So that is the trade-off there with the Thracian ones. Of course, their bonus versus elephants and chariots, very useful if you're going to fight the Seleucids. So very nice indeed. Nice additions to Thrace. Right, guys, I'll see you on the next battle map, where we're going to look at some of the more eastern factions. So here we are with the eastern factions, guys, and here we are with Parthia, and you can see something very exciting there on the right, but we're not going to reveal that just yet. I love Parthia, one of my favourite factions. But the units we've shown before are the Parthian Swordsmen and the Heavy Spearmen on the other video, so check that out. But the Persian Heavy Archers, a very, very, very strong archer unit, this, guys. 878. That is unbelievably good, with a total defense of 10. Very good for an archer unit. If we compare that to the Archer Auxilia, they have a 438, so their morale and melee attack is awful, and a defense of 6. So these guys slap Archer Auxilia all day long. They are very decent indeed. Of course, not amazing defense, but if you have to put these guys in melee, they'll do okay. They won't do great, but they'll do okay. If they get charged by cavalry, they're probably going to get slapped to pieces. But of course, against infantry, they'll do all right. Whereas the Archer Auxilia will still die in their droves. So a really good addition. I believe this was in the other video, but just called Elite Persian Archers, not Persian Heavy Archers. But I could be wrong. Added to the Parthians as well are the Camel Riders, but I hate camels. Just camels. 4, 5, 10. A middle of the range camel unit. But yeah, I hate camels in this game. They're too slow. They're too slow. So, but But yeah, a good addition to Parthia for, you know, role-playing, etc. Very nice addition. And they look cool. They do actually look cool. I like that. They look like they're carrying some corrugated iron. Corrugated iron as their shield. With a star on, looking nice. And they are, of course, in their pajamas, which is awesome. The pajama boys on camels, which is cool. But other additions, which are really, really nice, are these median cavalry. They're kind of a mid-tier cavalry unit, heavy cavalry unit, which is pretty cool. They're fast-moving as well, which is very good for a heavy, what's classed as a heavy cavalry unit. Combat bonus in deserts, which is great. 6 morale, 6 melee attack, and 7 ult attack, which is their sword, which they will carry around with them as well. They're not quite as good as Nile Cav in attack. I believe they're an 8-8 or something like that. But they don't. But they have a much better defense of 16 versus the Nile's 11, I believe. So yes, will last a lot longer. But they've got a decent charge, a decent melee attack, but will last a lot longer in melee than other equivalent sort of medium-level cavalries. So a decent medium-level cavalry unit in there, because Parthia really didn't have this. They had very elite cavalry and horse archers, but that's about it. No sort of middle-of-the-range medium cavalry, which is a really good addition. So if you want a good, decent, strong, robust, I would say, I would call these guys robust. If you want a robust cavalry unit to fill in the ranks while you're waiting for your cataphracts to train, these guys are the ones to do that. But guys, we have something here which is fucking awesome. This makes me so excited. Look at these guys. They have gold faces on the horses, golden faces, golden chestes, golden headses. Oh my god, look at these guys, royal cataphracts. Most possibly the best cavalry unit in the game. Probably will destroy most generals' bodyguards as well because of their numbers. These guys are absolutely beastly. Like, there's no other word to describe them, guys. They are absolute units. Look at their stats. 10 morale, 10 melee attack, 11 ult attack, and that 11 ult attack is armor piercing, guys. So if they get stuck into melee and just get stuck there, you don't need to worry about them. You don't need to get them out, because that 11 ult attack is armor piercing. So strong. On top of that, they got good stamina, good morale, of course, with 10. And they are very well armoured. 24 armour, 24 defence, 18 of which is armour, guys. So you do need to be wary of armour-piercing units, of course, because their defence skill's only 6, which isn't brilliant. So their real weakness is armour-piercing units. But that is their only weakness. They are beastly. They are unbelievably beastly. They are so good. So good, guys. If we compare them to the normal cataphracts, which are beasts in their own right, normal cataphracts have an 8 morale, 7 melee attack, and 8 ult attack, as well as 23 defense. So they only have 1 more defense, but their melee attack is 3 more, and the ult attack is 3 more. And the morale is 2 more. So they are much better in attack. And the cataphracts were pretty decent in attacking anyway. So these guys are awesome. I'm so excited about these guys. I'm sorry, guys. I can't believe how excited I'm getting over these. They are amazing. And they look absolutely gorgeous. Look at that with the gold to kind of put them apart from the normal cataphract design. Very nice indeed. Now let's move on to, I don't want to play as Pontus, but if you do want to play as Pontus, there are some nice additions to the units here. The 2 that we've already covered before are the Pontic swordsmen. Here they are. And the Syrian archers. These are just standard Syrian archers, not the heavy Syrian archers. 8, 7, 8, and 10. So a very decent archer unit. Again, we did see them before with, was it Egypt, I believe? A very nice archer unit. So cool. And of Pontic heavy peltas, pretty much the same as the Greek ones. I believe slightly less melee attack with 6. I think the Greek ones or the... No, it was the Thracians ones had a melee attack of 7. So these guys are kind of in the middle of the Greek and the Thracian heavy peltas, but a decent peltast unit nonetheless. A good javelin unit. Now the other unit we have seen already in this video is the Sarissa Cav, which they get access to. That hit and run light cavalry, which is very nice indeed. Now they also get access now to barbarian mercenaries, which, in case you don't know the reason for this, there was actually a Gaulic or Gallic slash barbarian enclave in Anatolia for quite some time in the ancient age. I believe it went all the way into sort of Byzantine era as well, but I could be wrong on that. You'll have to comment down below what you know about the Turkish barbarians. But yeah, very cool as well. And of course they get the barbarian cavalry mercenaries to go along with that. Very nice indeed. So that is Pontus ticked off. And now we are on to Armenia. Armenia already has a very strong unit. Do check my 5 strongest non-Roman units rosters out if you want to see Armenia in there. Because hint, they might be in there. But there are some very nice additions overall. The Persian heavy archers, which we've already seen. Very, very strong arch unit. Incredibly strong, in fact. But there are a few additions that we haven't covered quite yet. The Armenian axemen, here they are. 8 morale, 10 melee attack, and 14 defense. A very strong mid-level heavy infantry unit. Good morale, good stamina. They're not fast moving, so they are true heavy infantry slugging around the battlefield. But yeah, I love those shields. Look at the gold tint around the edge. That is beautiful. But yes, they look very strong. Well, I say very strong. They're not that strong, but they're a good mid-level axe unit that will do some damage to lower tier units. If they come up against legionaries, they probably will die and rout. But of course, going up against Eastern infantry, which is what the AI likes to recruit around you, they will absolutely shred them. Shred them to pieces. But there are a couple of other units that we are going to cover here as well. These Azat Noble Warriors. Now I believe these are kind of a reskin of the Armenian Heavy Warriors from my other video, because the Armenian Heavy Warriors are no longer in here, and these guys have replaced. One thing to note, guys, the total defense is actually reduced from 25, the Armenian Heavy Warriors, down to the 22 of the Azat Noble Warriors, which means they've had a bit of an armor reduction. But that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, because these guys are already extremely well armored with 22 defense, 12 morale, which is awesome. That is really, really good. And 10 melee attack that is armor piercing. So these guys are going to be good against sort of cataphracts. Obviously, if you get charged by cataphracts, there's not much that can really stop the cataphracts. But if you can get these guys into a cataphract that's already charged, they should do some decent damage. Very nice indeed. A very strong, elite, heavy infantry. And they should do well against legionaries as well because of that armor piercing stat. Very well indeed. Now here we have the Eastern Cavalry. Let's have a look at these boys. They are basically Eastern infantry wearing the pajamas on horseback. The Eastern Cavalry, similar to the camel riders designed for Parthia. They've got their corrugated iron sheet with a star on it, looking very cool indeed. I just love the look of these guys. I love the patterns on their shirts. But the Eastern Cavalry, as you can imagine, just like the Eastern Infantry, are pretty trash. 4 morale, 5 melee attack, and 10 defense with 5 charge. So would I take the Sarissa Cavalry over these guys? I definitely would, because of that charge. With these guys as well, it's just the same thing. They're going to be very vulnerable to missiles, although that 4 shield is a very good deterrent to missiles, especially on their left hand side. But yeah, 3 armors, not brilliant, but they don't quite have the charge and melee attack of that Sarissa Cavalry, but an okay light cavalry option for Pontus, for Armenia, sorry, if you do want to play as them. Now on top of that, we have the Armenian Cavalry, another decent medium level cavalry, like the median cavalry over here for Pontus. Sorry, what was it called? for Parthia, median, yeah, it's just called median cavalry. The Armenian cavalry, I'm pretty sure, has very similar stats. A 6, well, we can have a look. 6, 6, 7, 16. It's exactly the same with the Armenian cavalry, so another unit like that, which look pretty cool. I like those shields, very nice indeed. So another decent mid-level cavalry option for Armenia, because again, they had very elite cavalry, and that was about it. So giving them these Armenian cavalry is a medium level option for you, like mid-game, which is excellent, instead of these Eastern cavalry. But here we have the Azat Knights, like the Azat Noble Warriors. That's what they're called, right? The Azat Knights are very strong, guys. 12, 11, 12, 25. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. 12 morale, 11 melee attack, and 12 ult attack versus the Royal Cataphracts. These are actually better. So when I was saying that the Royal Cataphracts were the best cavalry unit in the game now, I was wrong because of these guys. These guys are unbelievably good. They have a 7 charge, so slightly less charge than the Royal Cataphracts. So not as good on the charge, but better melee attack by 2. Better ult attack by better melee attack by 1, better ult attack by 1, and better morale by 2. So they're very rarely going to leave the fight. But as I say, you can charge these guys in and leave them in. With that armor piercing secondary weapon, they are going to shred people to pieces. They are unbelievable. They don't look quite as cool as the Royal Cataphracts, I've got to say, but they look awesome nonetheless. This like bronze design on the horse armor is amazing. I just love the gold on that Cataphract design, which is cool as hell. I like their spears as well, very long spears, so you know these guys are going to do some serious damage in melee. But again, a very strong cavalry elite unit. Now let's make sure we can see the Scythians first before we get into them. But the Scythians as well, they are going to be the next faction that we cover. And there's a couple of people in here that we've already covered before in the other video. So that is the Fierce Warriors and the Chosen Swordsmen. So look in the other video for those Fierce Warriors, which are beasts, real beasts. But added to the Scythians as well, we have the standard warband, the warband that the Gauls get, which is a just standard, pretty resilient early game unit, I would say. You know, 4 morale is not good, but all the barbarian factions have bad morale anyway, like really bad morale. So 4 morale isn't great, but it's okay. 7 melee attack, which is decent. Total defense of 10, most of which is their shield, which is okay as well. So a standard early game warband for you guys. On top of that, we have the Scythian Hoplites, a brand new unit, a Scythian Hoplites unit, which can form phalanx. Of course, you can see they've got very, well, they've got long spears, not very long spears, but they have good stamina and can sap. 8 morale, 9 melee attack, and 7 ult attack with a total defense of 15, which is actually pretty decent. If we compare them to the standard Greek Hoplites, the Greek Hoplites have a 4 morale, which is trash, 7 melee attack, and 5 ult attack. So these guys are a lot more attacking, very much stronger in offense, as well as having much better morale, double the morale of the Hoplites. So they're going to stick in the fight for a lot longer. The Hoplites do have 1 more defense, but I think that isn't a trade-off for the great increase in attack of the Scythian Hoplites, and they are a very strong Hoplites unit. So you can get some nice Hellenic action in with the Scythians now, which is awesome. On top of that, they do get the mercenary Cataphract. So they just get the standard Cataphract as a mercenary. That should be an AOR unit as well. Now, on to Numidia, everyone's favourite faction. Yeah, everyone's favourite faction. But the people we've already covered, there is only one, and it is the Desert Cohort. So we've already covered those guys. But there is a lot more additions to Numidia, as you can see, which is really cool to see because Numidia doesn't get enough love. Numidia is actually an alright faction to play. You're in a pretty decent position to start with, so it's good to see them get some units that deserve their name. Now, 2 of these units, though, you might not be saying that they are excellent. Look, Numidian levies, 2 morale, 3 melee attack, defense of 7, 5 of which is shield. So, they're pretty trash. Next to them, we have the Desert Vigiles, 2 morale, 3 melee attack. They're same stats as these guys, just the same, but they look different. But they look cool. Like, they look like they're actually be quite good, but they're just militia units. If you want to stick them in garrison, do so. I don't believe these guys can form a phalanx, but you know, it's a decent addition. Nice couple of militia units added into the game there as well. Very, yeah. So if we compare them to militia hoplites, militia hoplites have 2 morale, 5 melee attack, and 8 defense. So militia hoplites are better than these guys, and we all know how trash militia hoplites are. But nevertheless, a decent addition that can be a substitute for peasants manning your cities, and probably stand and fight for a while with that 7 total defense if you stick them on the town square. Now, other units that we have yet to see are the Libyan spearmen, who have been added to Numidia as well. The standard Libyan spearmen from the Carthaginian roster, 6 morale, 7 melee attack, and a defense of 16. It always didn't make sense to me that Numidia didn't have Libyan spearmen because, you know, half of Numidia in the game is in Libya, just the south part of Libya, not the coast. So why would they not have them? So great addition by Danymok there. Very nice indeed. Decent medium tier spear unit for you. Bonus against cavalry, which is great. And then we have, where are you? The Numidian noble spearmen. These guys are beasts. Look at these. I really, really like these guys as an addition. They have 10 morale, 11 melee attack, and 12 missile attack with 3 javelins rather than 2, unlike the legionaries and the thorax swordsmen and some of the other elite units we've seen, and 22 total defense. So if we compare them to the legionary cohort, the legionary cohort has 10 morale, so the same, 9 melee attack, so 2 less in fact, 13 missile attack, but only 2 javelins, I believe, for the legionary cohort. So 1 more missile attack, but only 2 javelins, so probably 2/3 of the damage there, and 22 defense. So these guys are basically legionary cohorts in all but name, with a Numidian skin. Looking pretty cool indeed. Oh my god, he looks very intense. They look very intense. I mean, I guess they are going to fight. I like the officer there with his bronze belly plate, or whatever you would want to call that. I don't know. But yes, very decent addition to Numidia overall. And this is a very good thing as well. The fact that they are not just armor. They have good defense skill, 8 defense skill, which is awesome, plus 5 shield, which is really good. So these guys are going to stand up to armor-piercing units very, very well, guys. So use these guys against armor-piercing units, and you'll do very well indeed. On top of that, we have more additions to Numidia, guys. More, as you can see. Numidian Noble Cavalry, a very nice option. 10, 11, and 10 missile with 6 javelins, which is really cool. So a bit of a skirmisher cav, but on top of that, they can batter other cavalry and infantry units with their melee stats. 19 defense. So let's compare them to companion cavalry guys, who have a 10 morale, 10 melee attack, but 12 ult attack. So slightly less melee attack on the charge, but better if they stick in the combat. Only by 1 though, and 10 missile attack for these guys. And the companions only have 17 defense. So these guys will do very nicely against companions. Companion cav do have 9 charge, so these are slightly less charge, slightly better melee, but with the javelin, so I would wager that these guys will do more damage on the battlefield than companion cav. So a very, very strong, elite Numidian unit. Look at these boys, looking very intense again. They look very nice indeed. Really cool outfits. I like the the silver breastplates. Very cool. Of course, very, very strong cavalry unit for Numidia now, which they didn't really seem to have. So a great addition to the Numidian roster. Now, on top of that, we have 2 more units for the Numidians. The Desert Chariots, which are pretty much exactly the same as the Egyptian Chariot Archers, apart from the fact that the Egyptian Chariot Archers have 1 more missile attack. Apart from that, absolutely the same. So a missile chariot unit. So on top of that, they are pretty decent in attack, melee attack of 9, but that special attack is very strong for chariots. But do be wary, they will die on touch. They do have 2 hit points, guys, but 2 arrows and these chariots are going down with that defense of 1. So keep these guys out of arrow fire. Don't leave them in the fight for long. Charge them in and try and disrupt enemy units and break their morale because they frighten enemy infantry. But a cool addition to Numidia nonetheless. Very cool indeed. And on top of that, they get the elephants. They did have access to the mercenary war elephants, but they get standard, normal, recruitable elephants. Recruitable everywhere, which is really cool as well. Giving them that extra sort of edge that they always lacked, that they really needed to be competitive in the arena with Carthage and some of the other eastern factions. I know they're not an eastern faction, but some of the other factions around that area. So, very cool. This is probably one of my favourite additions to the game so far, this whole unit, because Numidia gets so much hate, because it is pretty trash in vanilla, but with these units added, they can stand up to the Romans, they can stand up to anyone, really, and, you know, you can have more fun than just playing with Numidian cavalry, which are just the javelin cavalry. You can have elite cavalry, elephants, chariots, really strong infantry units with the noble spearmen and desert cohort. Very cool indeed. Very cool indeed. Very nice for Numidia. Right, guys, we've done all the Eastern and North African factions, so let's return with the barbarians. So here we are with the barbarians, my friends, the barbarians. And the first units we're going to look at are the Spanish, with 2 lovely additions to Spain. I don't believe Spain had any additions before, so this is excellent, excellent additions to Spain, because Spain's roster is a bit lacking in the vanilla, but there is 2 nice additions here. The Iberian Spearmen, 8 morale, 8 melee attack, and 16 defense. A nice medium tier sort of spear unit, a lot stronger than the Iberian infantry. Very nice indeed. If we compare them to the Libyan Spearmen have a 6 morale, 7 melee attack, and 16 defense. So they are better than the Libyan Spearmen. So you're going to shred those early game Carthaginian troops. Very nice indeed. On top of that, Spain's roster always felt like you had just Iberian infantry, and then you got the amazing Bull Warriors, because Bull Warriors are class. Bull Warriors are really, really good. But there was no in-between. So these guys are kind of bridging that gap, which is awesome. Awesome. Really good to see indeed. But on top of that, we have the Iberian Noble Lancers. A very, very nice Lancer unit. They basically have exactly the same stats as the Sacred Band Cav. So now you have a cavalry unit, an elite cavalry unit that can stand up to other elite cavalry units. 10 morale, 11 melee attack, and 12 ult attack, with a total defense of 18. Predominantly armor, so they will struggle against armor piercing, but looking very nice indeed with those long, long spears. And I love the mustaches that these guys have. Very cool indeed. Very barbarian, very Gallic. Oh, very nice indeed. Fantastic. So that is Spain, guys, and I love the fact that a couple of units were added into Spain because they really needed it. So here come the Dacians. Dacia is a faction that I've always struggled with, knowing whether it's really good or really bad, and I'm still not sure, but these additions make it very, very good. So let's talk about the ones we've already covered. So we've already covered the Fierce Warriors, and I believe that was the only one we covered last time. But of course, remember, these guys were absolute beasts. 14 morale, 13 melee attack, and 21 total defense. Something that quite a few of these barbarian factions have. But on top of that, added to these guys are the standard swordsmen. The standard swordsmen that Gaul have as well. Oh, look at these guys. Very nice. Sorry, I get distracted very easily by cool designs. But look at these guys. Look at their tattoos. Well, not tattoos, their paint, their body paint. Very cool indeed. Looking very nice. The swordsman, 8, 10, 12. So a decent mid-level infantry unit. The standard swordsman that the Gaul have. On top of that, added to them is the Bastani. Yes! And these guys looking awesome. I love their helmets. They look... It makes them look really unhappy, but kind of scary at the same time. But yeah, looking cool in the Spanish colours there. Very nice. Bastani, 2 hit points, of course. These guys kill you, get killed, and come back from the dead, guys. Ah! I'm dead! No, I'm not! Kill you. Yeah, so they are pretty cool. Very strong unit. If you've fought these guys before, you will know how annoying it is to fight these guys, because that 6 defense is actually 12, but that melee attack of 14 is very strong indeed. With 10 morale, very nice. And 6 charge for an infantry unit is really, really good. Really good indeed. On top of that, guys, we have a couple of cavalry units. So, the Dacian Noble Lancers. They are pretty equivalent to, say, the Nile cavalry the Egyptians have. 8 morale, 8 melee attack, 10 ult attack. If we look at the Nile cavalry, they have an 8-8-9, so 1 less ult attack for the Nile cavalry, and the same defense of 13 for both. However, these guys have one crowning glory, and that is the 10 charge. The Nile cavalry only have 6. These guys have a beastly charge. 10 is the best charge you can get in the game for a standard cavalry unit, I believe. So these guys have an awesome, awesome cavalry unit. On top of that, they look kind of really cool. They look almost Hunnic. If it wasn't for their barbarian paint that they're wearing, they kind of look like Huns. It's really cool. I love that armor. I love the shoulder pads there. And the little details in this armor as well. Look at those designs, guys, on the sleeves. Very nice. But yeah, really good, decent unit. I'd say just about elite because of that charge. If that charge wasn't as high, they'd be a sort of middle tier unit. But that charge of 10 puts them into the elite category. But as I say, you probably want to get these guys out with that 13 defense, 9 of which is armor. You want to be charging these guys as much as possible. Rinse that charge stat as much as you can, guys. As much as you can. On top of that, we have the Dacian Horse Archers. So you're no longer AOR restricted with Dacia for Horse Archers. So if you want to do Horse Archer Murder Death stack, you can, of course. Now with Dacia, which is awesome. They have the same stats as the Scythian Horse Archers, which is pretty cool. And the Scythian Horse Archers have better stats than the Parthian Horse Archers, who only have a stat of, 2 defense compared to the 5 defense of these guys. So a very nice addition to Dacia. Again, kind of that horde energy coming from these guys with these Horse Archers and with these Lancers. So very nice. And kind of horde colours from the Total War series. A lot of the time, the hordes have dark colours, don't they? Apart from the White Huns, of course. And here they have an AOR unit of the mercenary Scythian hoplites. So if you want to get the lovely Scythian hoplites that we saw with Scythia, they are very good, are very strong, as I said, as a hoplite unit. Stronger than the normal standard Greek hoplites, then you can. They're very long spears and really cool design. I love these Dacian designs, man. They look awesome. As I say, look kind of Hunnic, which is really cool indeed. Now, let's move on to Gaul. Big Gaul over here. Very nice. The ones we've already seen are these Berserkers. We saw them in the last video. And the Barbarian Legionaries, which we saw in the last video as well. Very nice stats on these guys. Pretty similar to the Roman Legionary stats. On top of that, though, guys, they have a new unit, the Noble Spearmen. 12, 11, 18. Very, very good unit. Good stamina. Excellent morale of 12, of course. So they're going to last in fight for a long time. As well as that defense, they are going to last for a long time. And 6 defense skill, which is really good. 5 shield. So even against armor-piercing units, these guys will do really well. And especially against cavalry. If we compare them to the Armenian Heavy Spearmen. The Armenian Heavy Spearmen have 6, 7, 17. So the Armenian heavy spearmen, which are already a pretty decent unit, have pretty much half the attack stats and morale of these guys. Well, not half on the 7 melee attack, but a lot less, a considerable amount less attack and morale, which is awesome. These guys are very strong, a really decent elite unit for the Gauls there. A very nice, strong unit indeed. Now, on top of that, they do have onagers added to them, so they've got a siege engine, which they don't get before, which they didn't get before, as well as a mercenary archer warband. So these guys are just a bit of a worse version of their forester warband, 4375, which is not brilliant, but you know, you can recruit them as a bit of a worse archer unit if you want to. So an added archer unit for Gaul there as well, which is very nice to see. Now, let's go on to Germania, the faction we're playing. And they have added in onagers for Germania, which is cool, so they can break down those damn Roman walls without having to scale them like crazy bastards. But of course, we've already seen 2 of these units, which are the Chosen Swordsmen and the Fierce Warriors, which we saw in the last video. And they get added to them the Noble Spearmen as well, another that very elite spearman unit. But look at those shields, guys. Let me just zoom in on that. Look at those shields. John Wayne Gacy has been painting all their shields, guys. Pogo the Clown on the shields. But no, yeah, looking pretty cool. It's kind of scary. Look at that mouth. Looks like he wants to eat you. Which is cool. Really cool design. Very nice, and they look cool. It's the design on the flag painted on the shields, which is awesome. Awesome. So a really good elite infantry unit added to the Germanians as well. Now, let's finally get to the final faction, the Britannia, the Bretons. Very nice indeed. The people we've already seen are the Barbarian Legionaries, which we've already seen. Those Barbarian Legionaries there. Look at those boys, ready to go into action. But there's a few units that we've not seen before as well. So the onagers have been added as well. So all these barbarian factions without siege engines getting additions of the siege engines. But we have a very special unit here, guys. A very special unit indeed. I'm very excited by these guys. The Druidic Warriors. Basically the Druids, but with double the amount of troops, which is awesome. Because the Druids were always decent, but they had too little troops to make a difference. So adding, you know, a double-sized Druid unit really is very special indeed, because the Druids are beasts. 16 morale, guys. These guys will not break unless you literally kill nearly every single one of them, kill the general in front of them, and then kill their wives and children in front of them. And that is the only time that they will break. Like, literally, unbelievably good morale. And on top of that, they inspire nearby troops with their chanting. So you can still chant with these guys. But yeah, awesome. Really awesome unit. If we compare them to the Druids, they have 16 morale. The Druids only have 12. They have 14 melee, which the Druids have 13. And the same defense as the Druids. 8 of which, guys, is defense skill. So these guys will shred through armor-piercing units for fun. Really good. 5 charge as well for a infantry unit is very strong. So a awesome unit. Really cool unit, guys. Really cool indeed. Now, who else do they have in here? They do have some Noble Spearmen, who we've seen again. Another barbarian version of the Noble Spearmen with that cool face, on John Wayne Gacy face on the shield design, which is cool. Looking very nice indeed. I like their little chest plates. But they also have some Breton Scout Riders. Here they are. Here we are. Some Breton Scout Riders. A 4-8-11, guys. Which is a pretty, you know, light tier, light cavalry, early tier stat. 4 morale, not brilliant. But 8 melee attacks, decent. And a defense of 11, but a charge of 7, guys. So you want to charge these guys in like the Larissa Cav. You want to charge these guys in quickly and get them out quickly as well, which is the idea with these light cavalry. But before, the Britons didn't have any cavalry. They just had, what do you call them? Chariots. They just had chariots. So adding these guys gives you a cavalry option, which you didn't have before, which is an awesome addition from Danymok. So thank you for that. On top of that, they get the Barbarian Noble Cavalry. So you also get an elite cavalry option. And I completely agree with this, guys. It never made sense that the Britons would just have chariots. Why would they just have chariots when, you know, they had horses to pull the chariots, but they never thought about riding the horses themselves, did they not? So yeah, it's great to add an elite cavalry unit in there with the 8, 9, 15. Very decent. Not quite as good as some of the Eastern cavalry units, but you're fighting other barbarians, so they'll be good enough. They'll be good enough. Not quite as good as a lot of the other factions' cavalry, but you never had cavalry before in the first place, so it's a pleasure to have an elite cavalry unit anyway, which is really cool. As I said, they have the onagers, but they also now get access to mercenary naked fanatics and mercenary archer warband. And there we are, guys. We are at the end, and of course we're going to play this obligatory battle. But before we go on, there is a couple of notes. So these legionaries that you see with a lot of the factions, like the Barbarian legionaries, Numidian legionaries, all that sort of thing, they require the Marian reforms to fire. So maybe you don't want to destroy Rome too quickly before you get on with that. Let's press play anyway while I'm talking. Fire at will, boys. Fire at will. Get the fire on. And of course, you've got to have the realistic... You've got to have the realistic paint, what do you call it, realistic style, realistic graphics for the armor style. Otherwise, it's not optimized for that. So please do put it on realistic if you are playing with that mod. And we've already covered the one javelin situation. I am going head first into these boys. What do the Spanish have? Iberian noble lancers and Iberian spearmen. I think we're going to get beaten by these guys over here, but Dacia surely shall come to our rescue. But these guys have berserkers. Let's go. So guys, that has been the whole mod once again, which is fantastic. As I say, excellent mod. I absolutely love it. It really adds unit variation and roster variation into the game, which is really cool indeed. I think I might be able to catch the general out, but it is druidic warriors. Swordsman. I've got the spearmen. I've got the fierce warriors as well, though, and these guys are beasts. Look at that defense. A lot better than those boys. And we want to stop them being able to chant. If they want to go head first into Spain, I am happy. Try and charge in there. Come on, boys. Let's go. But yeah, it is an amazing mod, and Danymok's done an amazing job of it. So well done to him. It's fantastic. And I hope you enjoyed it. It's probably quite a long video. I've been recording for 1 hour and 20, but the video won't be that long. But I spent a couple of hours checking all the unit rosters over and seeing which unit rosters were added, which units were added, which weren't, all that sort of thing. So yeah, let's get these guys in, get these guys to flank, and the spearmen as well. If we can get these spearmen... Oh! The Bretons have broken. Really? They are the noble lancers. They are, as I say, they are a very decent unit. Come on, spearmen, let's go. We didn't get you on Warcry though. I should have probably done that. Fierce warriors now, and then Warcry, and then get in the back. We'll get rid of those. See, they're just charging these boys in there, mad bastards. Let's just get rid of those onagers. I don't really care about hitting Spain's units, I'm not going to lie, with my onagers, so... We should be beating those druidic warriors, though, now with the fierce warriors coming in from the back. The fierce warriors are beasts. Who's our ally over here? Is it... yeah, it's Dacia. Let's have a look. They've not got the berserkers in, but they've got the noble spearmen against the swordsmen. The noble spearmen should really beat those swordsmen. But these Dacian noble lancers are going to come in. Oh! Against the barbarian legionaries. Berserkers, are you going to go crazy yet? No, not yet, but we should see that very soon. Yes, we beat back the druidic nobles, which is good. We don't have any cav, so that's a bit of an issue. Yeah, you need to be firing in there. You're not really hitting anything, are you? Oh, get those mercenary... These mercenary archers, oh my god, they're just running through them. The fierce warriors, if you not see my other video, are absolute animals in melee, guys. So, good luck to those archers. I think my Onager is a bit... Oh, here go the berserkers, boys. There they go. Oh, they're getting shredded, though. Yeah, they've died. He's died. The berserkers have died. The Dacians have shredded Gaul. Right, we should be good. Where's the fierce warriors? We want you to get the main charge off. We'll get the swordsman in over here. Spearman, you can come out here to try and deal with like these naked fanatics. Come on, these fierce warriors. Let's watch their charge. Come on, boys. Yes, fantastic. As I say, guys, we have that ambitious, really ambitious target of trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, guys. We're only on 1,500 right now, only 15%. So it's unlikely that we will get to it, but we are trying. So please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. Over 70, I think 75% of you are not subscribed who watch the videos. So if that's one of you, please do click that subscribe button. The spearmen, please charge into the spearmen, bro. Oh, they've got the horse archers out there chasing them down. Well, that was it. So my final thoughts on the mod, guys, are that it is fucking brilliant. It is a really, really good mod. Fantastic mod, adding huge unit variation and roster variation throughout the game, adding elite units and better medium tier units and better units to factions that were underserved by CA before. So it is a really good mod. I hope you enjoyed. Please do like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you again on the next video.